Whilst food insecurity is a significant challenge in Nigeria, affecting millions of people, addressing it requires a multifaceted approach. Today on Eagles Outlook, how can Nigeria leverage flooding for agricultural revolution? How can Nigeria leverage flooding for agricultural revolution? You can join the conversation as we bring you expert analysis on the discourse. My guest is an economist, and he will be joining us live via telephone this morning to get, insight and also help us get sense of what, this is all about. This is perhaps a conversation that has not really been it hasn't really been on the front burner, let's say, in recent times or even in the past. How can Nigeria leverage flooding for agricultural revolution? By the way, my name is Omoefe Peace Osemere, and joining me now is Yusha Aliyu. He is an economist. Good morning to you, Yusha Aliyu. Hello. Are you there? Good morning to you.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, usually, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Right. Over the years, whenever we have, cases or, incidences of flooding, of course, the first, thing that comes to mind is, the level of, the cushioning, measures that are usually brought to the fore by the federal government, the state government, and the relevant stakeholders. Most often than not is, more of, giving palliatives to those that are affected. They are usually, made to go to IDP camps, right, to find shelter there, pending when the water actually recedes, right? And they're given palliatives, sometimes even, cash and whatnot. But in recent times, some analysts or agriculturists, if you want to put it that way, they've come out to start a new conversation because this is perhaps something that we've not really been able to address really in this part of the world. As by that I mean leveraging flooding for agricultural revolution. Now, when you take a look at the amount of monies that the federal government gets to expend in form of palliatives or trying to cushion the impact of the flooding, one would say that those monies should be channeled into something more realistic, when in the real sense those palliatives might not really get to everyone affected by flooding. And I'm also sure that you are aware of the projections or findings that actually shows that 31.8 million Nigerians are actually short of food due to security challenges and the removal of fuel subsidies. But let's get your thoughts really to the 2024 flooding that has actually ravaged a number of states, washed away farmlands and displaced a number of Nigerians.
First of all, flooding must be understood in the best context as a catastrophe.
Right.
And it is a catastrophe because it has certain natural boundaries involved in it. One is that a catastrophe is becoming a very serious matter as far as food production is concerned. The flooding that has recently took place in many parts of Nigeria has resulted to many issues.
Right.
One, understanding the context of flooding as far as water resources management is concerned. That is the first thing. Second, flooding as regards to environmental challenges, which has affected severely a large portion of the Mother Earth. If you mention agriculture and food security, and then you want to understand probably the extent at which flooding has contributed to shortages of food, cannot be without mentioning one, erosion, two, devastation on farmlands, three, destruction of property, four, destruction of food reserves, 5, destruction of roads network. These are very serious implications as far as food security is concerned.
Right.
But however, flooding is not without certain economic privileges. Privileges that include understanding social economic measures to be adopted by different economies. Flooding in savanna region may not likely be the same with flooding in a rainforest. So, understanding this context will give you how to control, one, the extent at which flooding can be devastating to environment, how it can be devastating to humanity, and how it can be efficiently used for economic gains.
Right.
It is true that flooding may result as a result of human factor, like the one that has been recently experienced in Borno and some other part of Northeast. Failure of a dam can cause devastating effect to agriculture, environment, and human habitation. So, it depends on the angle at which we are looking at it, but obviously, like I defined in the earlier context, is a catastrophe, and it is an environmental disaster which must be understood and right measures must be taken, but it is always cost effective to control rather than to manage.
Right. To come in real quick now, talking about what we have going on across states in the country in form of flooding this year. What privileges do you think that Nigerians and the government, I mean by that of course, we look up to them, right? To put certain structures and policies or measures in place to also see the possibility, the impact that it will have on the people positively as opposed to the negative impact it has actually had on people over the years. What are some of the privileges that we can possibly benefit from these years of flooding?
Some of the basic privileges that can be maneuvered or manipulated for economic gains. One is there are certain conditions. You must understand the type of soil. The type of soil that is affected by flooding matters a lot. The soil fertility is a very good consideration. For instance, if you take what transpired recently in Maiduguri, the type of soil is tropical ferruginous soil, which is quite different from soil that is tropical ferritic. So if you take the privileges and advantage, is that in the context of soil management, you have tropical ferruginous. Therefore, each flood is coming with certain nutrients, and those nutrients can be best exploited in the Kadama areas, because at the end of the flooding is bringing a lot of soil components that are very good to harvest crops, especially rice, but it has to be quickly managed. And you do that when you put two practice at the same time. You prefer for irrigation purposes, you prefer the machines to pump in water from the reserves out of the context of that flooding coverage. That is one. Two, there is also potential for fishing, because when flooding affected an area is coming with a lot of water resources, including fish. So people can learn to fish using the context of having certain reserve of waters which can be manipulated in the short term to harvest fishing industry. So these are some of the things. Apart from that, also we have seen how people are trying to probably exploit potentials of soil nutrients to harvest crops at home, and it can be proper if it is properly organized. It can increase food supply to different households.
Okay. But is it something that, the masses or those affected, greatly by this flooding, is it something that would have to, depend on the government, or some sort of interventions, if you like, from the government, whether at the federal or state level, before they can harness or, tap into, the benefits or the advantages that comes with this flooding?
No, it has to do with orientation, because people that are affected with flooding, first, they are driven out of their own communities, and before coming back to their communities, they need shelter, they need food. So government hand must be there, first to give orientation, three, to use agri extension officers who are experts in managing such situation, and three, water resources engineers and soil fertility experts. All these are components that must be assembled, organized, and then put into field to assist the population, because some people experience flooding once in their lifetime. So for them to know the opportunities that involve out of flooding, there is need for guidance, there is need for counseling, and there is need for orientation.
But from your personal observation over the years, you've been monitoring events as they unfold. Would you say that the government, when I say the government, I'm not just referring to the federal government now, even the state government, and even at the local, level, do you think this is something that they've really considered over the years?
I may not, flooding, like I said, has to do with geographical location, and it has to do with the soil context. So over the years, a lot of opportunities were not exploited, because Nigeria has over 95 million arable land, and this arable land is not even put to use. Only a percentage, 10% of 95 million is put to use. So, and if you want to probably ask my intervention for government to enjoy, a government has an opportunity, especially in that part of the world, which is Sahel Savannah, to plant trees. There is enough water around the terrain to grow bigger trees that can control erosion in the future. So if government can even use that opportunity to bring species of trees that are enduring to that kind of environment, they can recruit individuals who are affected by their flooding to have work. And at the end of the day, you can even plant economic trees, and they show people the importance of those economic trees, which can be managed. That what that we call dabino in Hausa is one crop that grows in that part of the world, and if carefully exploited, there are several opportunities, but in the past we have not been very adequately engineering the required attention for soil development after flooding.
Okay, so by economic trees, you mean the dabino plant is one of the economic trees you're referring to? Is that it?
Of course, yes. Dabino is very proteinous and has a lot of health benefits, and is a food in itself, and it's a market. It has very wide market locally and internationally. Israel, for instance, has developed a very large portion of land from desert to get plantations, and they are taking so high number of different denominations around the globe. If you see the packaging, you won't believe that it is grown in desert. So, but in this part of the world, any disaster, any white man says all disappointments are blessings, but it depends on how you see it and how you take it and how you use it.
All right. Over the years, when we have cases or records of flooding, across the country, it's sometimes tagged as a curse, but I say water is a blessing, right? Because we really need water for a handful of things. Now as we speak, can you help us get sense of perhaps the cost implication of measures that must be put in place in order for us to leverage flooding for agricultural revolution?
You see, there is heavy tax from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, State Ministry of Agriculture. There are many programs adopted by these structures. So that the context of which we are discussing today, we are discussing how we can provide employment opportunities and food on the tables of the affected families who are from that environment. So if we take that, we can say precisely that it is the responsibility of state, federal, and even local government to organize post-flood programs, which can include programs that can create a lot of agricultural opportunities, either temporal or long-term. Planting of that is a long-term plan, but you are doing it for generation, and you are controlling even desertification, and you are providing a good climatic condition, and all these are required for climate management. And if you do it, at the end of the day, there will be improvement in the even health standard of the people living in that communities, because once you are occupied with a friendly environment, free of flooding, then the human habitation and economic programs will be much desired and it will be more easily to be managed.
All right. I mean, usually for the sake of, the farmer listening out there, for the sake of the average man on the street who's listening to this conversation out there and probably wondering how he or she can actually, tap in, to harness, some of the benefits or advantages that, are associated with, flooding in Nigeria. Talk us through some of the varieties that, should be perhaps considered, in terms of leveraging, flooding for some sort of agricultural revolution as we speak.
Amofe, we have to understand that there is so much development in agricultural research. We have hybrid crops, maize, wheat, maize, millet, including beans. All are in high demand in the entire West Africa sub-region. So if you can plant crops of 60, 90 days and you harvest them with the available water before the next rainy season, because all the dams, all the reservoirs will be filled with water. The only thing is to provide the expert know-how and little facilities, and you now promote the activities. So I think it's a good thing. We begin to understand in any disadvantage there is an advantage.
All right. Talking about wheat, we understand that Nigeria is actually planning 70% wheat self-sufficiency. I mean, how realistic is that? That we have achieved approximately 10% self-sufficiency in wheat production, with ambitious plans to reach 70% in the next 5 years.
President Bola Tinubu is targeting a $1 trillion economy. And in targeting this, there is need for high diversification. And once you have high diversification effort, what is required is to understand the potential. We were feeding ourselves, but we cannot feed ourselves with insecurity. We cannot feed ourselves with Boko Haram. The military should take this flooding as an advantage to penetrate deep into those areas where Boko Haram is habitated, and then dislodge them, because it has caused inconveniences to them. It has affected their food supply. So if we can check and secure our land and secure the farmland and bring good facilities with good extension agri workers, definitely there will be increase in food production. And when you have food production, what is required is to control prices. We are doing it wrong. Food security does not only mean having the food produced, but because at which that food is produced and the price at which those goods are sold to end users. You cannot sell a bag of rice, for instance, because you want to be, you are self-sufficient, you produce a bag of rice using MPK 50 kilogram at 55,000, and then you come and sell a bag of rice 50 kg at 100,000. What is the income grouping? How many people can afford? So food security has to do with pricing. Pricing policy has to be there. Government has to come in, whether directly or indirectly, to assist farmers to produce. But the cost of input must be subsidized, because we are underestimating the large number of population. We are underestimating our consumption levels, because if we take 250 million people to consume 500 to consume at least 1 million metric tons of rice, and you produce 1 million metric of rice, that is not enough. You need other substitutes. Those substitutes are what will provide advantage to price regimes. So for food sufficiency, it's not only to produce a particular crop, but to manage the cost of producing different items and then putting them in the market with certain aggregate function of reliability in price. You cannot expect prices to be changing by second, and you expect to have food security. These are very necessary, madam.
All right. Usually, what are some of the crops that farmers should perhaps be heavy on now that we're having this flooding?
I cannot get to you, madam. I can hear you.
All right. Yes, I'm asking that what are some of the crops that farmers should actually take cognizance of, rather. I mean, now that we're having cases of flooding across states in the country.
Almost this question I cannot comprehend, because that you can repeat it, please.
All right. If you can hear me, I understand it's a bit noisy from your end.
Yes, I'm on wheel. I'm driving.
All right. Yes, I'm asking that what are some of the crops that farmers should actually look at for in terms of cultivating now that we have flooding in some states of the country where farming is more like the way of life of the people in these states.
It's this question is giving me hard time to comprehend. Right. But I'm relaxed now.
Okay. Yes, the question I'm asking is if you can hear me very clearly.
I can hear you.
Yes, you actually highlighted a number of benefits or privileges attached to flooding. You talked about aquaculture, engaging in fish and shrimp farming, especially now that we have cases of flooding across states in the country. And then you also talked about planting trees, right?
Afforestation.
Yes, you talked about planting trees. That's agroforestry. Let's talk about wetland agriculture, right? What are the crops? I mean, you also pointed out earlier that farmers are not well orientated, right? They really don't have the knowledge of what to do and how to record gains from flooding whenever it occurs in the country. So what are some of the crops that farmers should actually take into consideration now in terms of cultivating just to reap benefit afterwards?
Most farmers are subsistence in nature, and most farmers, like I told you, are displaced. And once a farmer is displaced from his own habitation, his food is missing. The first thing is for him to stabilize. These people need stabilization. After stabilization, they need encouragement from the state, and that encouragement has to do with, like I said, to give them orientation, to assist them with certain level of information and also the seedlings. If you can provide that one, I think people are ready to have something doing, and especially in agriculture, which is everybody's business.
But let me ask you this, the yes or no response. Will it be intelligent to say or to even think that we have, absence of, visionary, leaders or leadership, as it were, because it's been more of, giving palliatives to people affected, by flooding, as opposed to, enlightening them on things like this, or even gifting or giving them seedlings of different varieties that they can actually cultivate, especially at this time.
Palliative is very important to a displaced person, because if you don't have food to eat, you don't have anything to do, but it has to be organized.
Okay, so the question
they need to be stabilized.
The question would be, yes, absolutely, palliative is very important. No one is actually trying to, downplay the essence or importance of giving palliatives, in situations like this. But the question will always be, what next? Because it's more like we've been doing one thing.
What next? What next is for government to provide expert advice. Because there is so much responsibility on government. If individuals are displaced from their homes, from their farms, government can now bring other opportunities which include seedlings. Like I said, I have already mentioned that.
Yes.
So it depends on the strategy to be involved. Either collaboration between federal, state, and local government, NGOs, well-wishers, and even families outside the flooding zone can assist. It's normal. It's normal. Flooding is a disaster, and nobody, very few are said to be preparing for disasters. But in Nigerian context, we don't plan for disaster management and aftermath, and that is why we are having this problem. So, having a large number of people who doesn't have food to eat is a very serious problem. It's a very serious problem for our security and even for our food security. So I think that is it.
We'll take a quick break now. When we come back, we'll link up with you again. We'll link up with you again, usually you, to get your submission on this topic of discussion this morning on Eagles Outlook. This is Eagles Outlook on Eagles FM. As a matter of fact, 102.3 Abuja, your radio experience you can count on. We'll take this quick commercial break, and when we come back, the studio lines will be opened as well for you to call in to share your thoughts. Do join us again. Child Protection Initiative Against Cybercrime, CCPRO, calls on all teens and tech lovers for the 3rd Nigeria Teen Cyber Festival, NG Teen Cyber Fest 2024. Join thousands of young minds as we dive into the future of technology and cybersecurity with the theme From Ideas to Impact, Fostering Innovation in the Age of AI. Meet top tech experts, explore the latest in online privacy, join our hackathon contest, and win fabulous prizes. Date 3rd of October 2024 at the Olumawu School, Wuse 2, Abuja. To participate in the hackathon or main event, please call Bumi on 081-3309-8542 or Zubeiru on 070-6662-4417. NG Teen Cyberfest. Secure, innovate, lead. The future is yours. Supported by Eagles 102.3 FM.
My people, the thing where they happen for my area,
Do you think I will now find out that you have contract to bring fresh girls?
I brought you from the gutters. Who gave you all the connects? MDG who? Without me, you would have been nobody. But I
join Media Coalition and Awareness to Halt Human Trafficking, MICAT, on I Wish I Knew radio drama every Saturday at 10 a.m. Let us join hands and kick human trafficking out of our communities. I Wish I Knew radio drama, brought to you by MICAT in partnership with the National Agency for Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, and funded by the Embassy of Denmark in Nigeria.
Get the desired clients for your business and service and get your phones buzzing. From the 1st of September to the 31st of December, you can advertise and reach a large audience with the Eagles FM Ember Months package. Advertise on any of our platforms and get a whopping 30% discount. That's right, 30% discount. For more information, please call 080-5919-8658. 080-5919-8658 or 081-5791-7278. 081-5791-7278. The Eagles FM 102.3 FM Ember package is a sure way to getting a wider clientele for your business and service.
No offense to the commercials. It's just that we want to see other audio. Eagles 102.3.
All right, thanks for staying with us. This is Eagles FM 102.3 Abuja, and the program you're listening to is Eagles Outlook, where we discuss national burning issues. Well, today we've decided to, beam our searchlight or shift, gears, to the agriculture sector, and also look at ways that Nigeria can actually leverage on, flooding, yes, for agricultural revolution, as opposed to, the trend or tradition of lamentations, and also measures that federal and state governments always introduce to cushion the impact of flooding on Nigerians. By that I mean giving palliatives and also getting people, or moving people that are affected, by the flooding to IDP camps. The question would be, what's next, right? After all of that, what is next for, these people? And we know, of course, that for some of these people that are actually, affected by flooding, they are majorly farmers, right? Some of them are into fish farming, though. So the question would be, what next? We'll take a look at, the amount of money, expended on, palliatives, and whatnot. Why how about we invest that money into structures or ideas that would actually help a farmer who gets affected by flooding, whose farmland gets washed away by flood and whatnot, right? We actually are just thinking the possibility of thinking outside the box and doing something new, trying another leg, if you like. The numbers to call are 09087668888 or 09073530044. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, my dear sister Ife. I greet you. This is Alami from Central Area.
Right.
And I greet our guest. Yes, Ife. Erosion is one of the natural disasters that we cannot completely end or prevent, but however we can only manage it. For me, I think I've not really seen much commitment from state government that are prone to erosion, with the exemption of my state, Kogi.
Okay.
I consider myself to be an informed individual that if any other state is making any effort with the level of my with the level of my political awareness and as regards good governance in the country, not just in my state and not just in Abuja and Lagos, definitely I would have come across such initiative. I think my state is the only state that set up committee, Kogi State, the erosion committee that will bring about how can we prevent it. As I speak to you the previous time, there are 2 erosion estates that was built by the previous administration of Yaya Bello, that whenever NAMET come out and give warning, the people from the erosion prone area are moved away from that location to the erosion estate. But I've not heard such thing, and what happened in Borno is quite unfortunate. This is my fear in conclusion matter. Essay. It seems, we cannot talk the national disaster that could have been managed into a political jamboree. You know, when the flood, the flooding happened in Borno State, and I raised the alarm. The way everybody were trooping in to pay political homage under the pretense of, being sympathetic towards the Borno people. When flood happened in my home state, we do not receive such attention, Efe. When it happened in Anambra, there was no such attention. When it happened in Niger, there was no such attention. When it happened in Benue, there was no such attention. So is it because the vice president of Nigeria is from Borno State, and they are just using it as a political jamboree, to identify with the vice president? And this is where the problem lies. I hope the state governor does not get carried away and relax and say, if it happen again, they will come and bring billions of naira in donations like we have seen now. Right. At the end of the day, you just share bag of rice and duvet, and you say you are empowering the people. This is my concern. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your contribution. Right, that'll definitely come, to you. Let's take this call. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Anata.
This is Omo Efe.
Okay. Good morning. How are you, my daughter?
Very well, thank you. What's your name?
My name is Danaja.
All right.
I'm calling from Cuba.
Please go ahead.
See, this region supposed to be a blessing to Nigeria. But Nigeria, they don't know how to manage it. Let me give you an example. Alami is talking about Kogi State. You see, we have River Niger, River Benue. And then they release water from Cameroon. Then you overflow those rivers. But if the government went to do it, they have to channel those rivers from that place, channel it. That's a part where Buhari, now say where to Kasakudo to Niger, this and this. That's why it's a good project. Those pipes, so they return it to water side. Within the channel the water. There are many places in Igala land where there's no water. You can channel the water from that river to most of the Igala land, to Anambra, to Igoma land, from Benue there, you can Makori there. You can channel the water with that pipe. If you went to Libya, I went to a course in Libya, and then what Gaddafi do in Libya? If any African country can do it, Operation can never happen to anywhere. Operation is supposed to be a blessing. Don't you have that them there? They know say that them will overflow. There's many places in the Blue there where you can't get water to drink. That water they're supposed to channel it. That courageous question where they are giving to government, they are using it for nothing. That type of living, you have to channel the river, channel the dam to the case overflow. To water to areas. You can channel it to the village, and then you open the pipe there. This small reservoir there. When the water will channel to that place, they will use it for farm. Right, and then they will use it for drinking. They will use it for different things. Nigeria, they are not ready. They are not ready.
All right. Thank you very much. But let's not lose focus or track of the main question or topic of discussion, which is how can Nigeria leverage flooding for agricultural revolution? Yes, that's the big question we're asking this morning, right? You can be part of the conversation by calling 090-8766-8888 or 090-7353-0044. You can also send a voice note or a message to the WhatsApp portal on 090-9705-4450. Right, I think we have another call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location, please.
All
right, Ogbonna, please go ahead.
I could have asked you a question that is it Nigeria, the federal government, because if you include everybody, we cannot do it. I remember vividly when this flood happened in the state. They gave a letter that this thing happened before, either 30 years ago. 30 years ago, between 1995, 96, something like that, that there was flooding that was so devastated that this is the second one. So, now, we are not in government like that. This is really comment as individual. So, if you say, how can Nigeria, they are in 29, 10, 11, something like that, but it's not in Kogi State. I looked at the going to Lagos. So if you say how can even though we are divided, so when the federal government or the state government, like when they keep on opening them in Cameroon or Chad or whatever, every year there must be 1 or 2 times for current. If nothing has been done. So that question now, maybe if you say is a general thing, I don't think they will be announced. People will do excuses and these reasons it will not be done. So what is the people involved, the management or the climate change, wherever they find themselves, they give us a person that there is too much rain. What are the measures to cushion the state? You understand?
Let me ask you, are you a farmer?
I'm not.
All right. Do you know anyone who's a farmer?
Yes, I have people that are farmers.
All right. So, did you listen to, the expert analysis that my guest actually gave earlier?
No.
All right. Well, it means you didn't follow the conversation from the beginning, because it's been able, to enlighten and also educate us. The reason for this conversation is to educate Nigerians who are probably not aware that there are better.
Exactly what I'm saying now. Exactly, I have your question and I understand it.
All right.
I understand that. So he said Nigeria, I said this thing has happened before. It's not the 2011, just 10 years or 20 years ago. Nothing has been happened.
All right.
So what are you saying?
All right, thank you so much. Let's leave it here for now.
So what they do is the first time. Another one will still happen. Nothing will happen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling. Right, we understand it's a natural disaster, but we don't pray for it, to hit us really hard, just the way it is doing right now. I'll take a message from the WhatsApp portal this morning. All right, before then, let me quickly take this call. Hello, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your name and location, please.
Good morning to your guest here.
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello, this is our colleague from Tunisia.
What's your name?
Zach.
I didn't get your name, please.
Zach.
All right, Zach.
Z-A-K-A.
All right, Zach, please go ahead.
Yes. I may want to throw on the line with Al-Amin spoke. Actually, they are using this just as a political jamboree. What happened in Maiduguri? It happened in so many states in this country. Nobody, no government rendered assistance to those states, but because it happened in the vice president, everybody is donating money, billions and billions of naira. Let them continue. It is well. There is God. Thank you very much.
Well, you really cannot say that Nigerians or the elite showed concern, because Borno State is a home state to the Vice President Kashim Shettima. Donations have been made, right? Perhaps the reason why there's been a little bit of attention in Borno State is because of the adverse effect this flooding has actually left the citizens or residents there with. Yes, a number of people. I'm sure you've seen pictures across social media platforms. It tells you how disturbing the trend is right there in Borno State. So without mincing words, we really do not, as a station, we do not support the fact or the notion that people in Borno State got that much attention because it's a home state to the vice president. Let's not forget that other states also get ravaged by flooding, right? The numbers to call are 090-8766-8888 or 090-735-3004. The question we're asking is, whenever we get to experience flood as a country and we get palliative relief materials, what's next after that? Can we leverage the flooding for agricultural revolution now that we know that there are benefits that actually comes with flooding? Hello, good morning to you.
Hello, good morning to you, my dear sister in the studio.
Good morning. Yes, your name and location, please.
All right, I remain my humble self, Omotayo, reaching you from Galadimawa this morning. My regards to Uduak Daniel in his absence. My dear sister, you see, what next is what you ask in this case. Look, I want to ask you a very, very brief, sarcastic question, but realitatively, is there any advice about dressing properly that is reasonable, that is tangible to a madman? Is there any advice you give to a madman about him dressing properly that is tangible, that is reasonable, that is acceptable, that is tenaceable?
So
I don't know, your answer is as good as mine. Look, any government that focuses. Or you want to answer me, ma?
No, I mean, using madman, in this context, it's a bit, harsh. I understand, the point you're trying to make.
Hey, I'm just trying to give you the scenario from the reoccurring circumstances of this kind that has persisted over the years. There's no qualification that would have best given you the insinuation, the picture I'm trying to paint from what is going on right now. Are you telling me that it is just a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago that this issue of releasing of water from dams from over the nearby countries to and it has overflooded? In fact, I've been in Benue State for more than 10 years. Before relocating to Abuja, it has been the same scenario over and over. So it's not a case of madness that they say only a fool will fall into a pit more than once and continue to fall inside the same pit. Of course, that is not a mistake. It is just dumbness or lack of care, lack of concern, greed. Because they are not the ones suffering these things directly. So it makes no sense when you advise such a people that do this thing. These things reoccur. They are supposed to look for a way to stop it. Rather, look, it is a conduit pipe for them to steal more money. Because that relief fund they claim they are relieving, when they collect 20 billion, what they release is not more than 100 or 200 million. The remaining goes into their pocket. That is what happens. They just use it as conduit pipe. That's why they will not fix it, because that's the way they get their money. Look, let me tell you, even insecurity in Nigeria is a conduit pipe.
All right, Omota, I'm afraid I have to let you go now, but thank you so much for calling. I'm sure you've been able to, make your point, and the message already, or message rather, has been noted. Well, flooding actually is not a new thing in Nigeria, and it is not just typical of Nigeria. It also happens in other climes. But for a nation that is is actually looking forward to diversifying her economy, I mean, looking away from oil, not depending solely on oil. Agriculture is something that a number of analysts, even elder statesmen have come out to say that let us channel a little bit more of energy to the agricultural sector, because there are gains, really huge gains, massive gains that could be recorded from the agricultural sector if we really put the necessary things in place. And earlier my guest, who's an economist, I don't know if he's a farmer, but perhaps he is, he's been able to enlighten us as to some of the benefits that actually comes with flooding, such that when we have cases of flooding, houses farmlands are washed away, people are displaced, people start counting losses. The moment the water start receding, there are actually variety of crops or seedlings that one can actually get, you cultivate, and you make good gains at the end of the day. So the question we're asking is, what next? Beyond giving palliatives to the people affected by flooding, right? Beyond relief materials and whatnot, what next? How about we tilt towards investing, giving these people affected by flooding perhaps maybe crops or of different varieties, right, that can actually stand the flood, or lands that have just been washed away by flood. Because we understand that there are crops that you can actually cultivate in such lands and they would actually do well. So how about we invest in that area and also empower these people? Because it's more like after the flood, after giving them relief materials in forms of maybe food items and whatnot, afterwards they go back and they're still counting losses. It's almost impossible for a farmer to pick up almost immediately, right? So that is why we're having this conversation this morning on Eagles Outlook, not necessarily to to tongue lash or to backlash the federal government. And for those of you who actually have concerns with the series of donations that some Nigerians, well-to-do Nigerians, and even organizations, NGOs have actually made in recent times with regard to the flooding this year, as to whether or not those monies would really get to the affected people, I mean, that is going to be a conversation for another day. That is really a kettle kettle, of fish, a different kettle of fish on its own. But now we want the farmer out there to get to know that there are benefits that actually comes to flooding. There are ways you can actually, leverage, the flooding, for some sort of agricultural revolution. So if you have a farm that has been washed away, by flood, there are actually things that you can do to pick up again, as opposed to just waiting solely on the government, to come to our aid. Well, it is the responsibility of the government, right, to always come to our aid when things like this happen. But we also have a role to play. So again, it's a wake-up call, right, to NOA, the orientation agency, the Ministry of Agriculture. This is the wake-up call to you people. Come to us, right? Come and enlighten people. You can even decide to, okay, for this particular hour, I'm going to sponsor it. Let us enlighten our people. Let them know that there are benefits that comes with situations like this. That is the point we're actually trying to stress, by having this conversation this morning. I'm going to take this message from the WhatsApp portal. It says, this is from James from Suleja. James says, most if not all of the devastating flood we have experienced in this country have all been due to dam releases. When the volume of the water released overflows the path it flows through. All the federal government has to do is identify and work with those states along the pathways of these water flow. The existing dams need to be reviewed with special attention on the barriers, while things like diversion, canals and river diversion are set up. These can help develop and set up dry season farming infrastructure to aid all year farming along and around those areas, as dry season farming basically requires irrigation. Setting up more dams and diversion canals is key to having this system in place. The government keeps talking about food sufficiency but barely does anything to suggest they are working towards that. Insecurity and infrastructural failure is majorly responsible for the food insecurity we are currently facing. Stomach infrastructure and Bambiala policies will not solve that. James from Suleja there, thank you so much for that message. I think that will be all we can take or accommodate on the show this morning because of time. Thank you all so much for listening, and to my guest, usually who couldn't make it to the studios, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We definitely will come back and have this conversation, probably with stakeholders from the Ministry of Agric, to better enlighten at the average Nigerian out there who really does not understand the benefit that comes with flooding and how we can actually leverage flooding for agricultural revolution. I would like to state very clearly that the views expressed by the guests and the callers were not influenced by Eagles FM. Until tomorrow, I am Omoefe Peace Osemere. Good morning.
This is Eagles 102.3 News, your number one radio experience you can count on.